This is the story TLC won't tell you. We've pieced together information from multiple unconfirmed insider reports, financial breadcrumbs, and exclusive theories to bring you the full, shocking saga of Janelle Brown's legal war against Kody and Robyn. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, accusations of fraud, and a courtroom verdict that will rock the Brown family to its core. Is this the end of Kody and Robyn's reign? We have the exclusive details, not the explosive fights we saw on TV, not the arguments over COVID protocols or a shared family home. No, the real breaking point happened quietly, behind closed doors, in the sterile environment of a financial advisor's office. According to our deep-level sources, people who have been close to the Browns for years, Janelle Brown finally saw, in black and white, the staggering financial betrayal that had been unfolding for over a decade. The One House special wasn't a plan for the future. It was Kody's last-ditch effort to consolidate what was left of the family's assets under one roof, his and Robyn's. But he underestimated one thing. Janelle Brown was done playing games. She wasn't just leaving the family, she was coming back for her money, every last cent. This is the story of the lawsuit that will burn the Brown family dynasty to the ground. If you thought the drama on TLC was intense, you haven't seen anything yet. What we're about to reveal is a story built from insider whispers, financial breadcrumbs, and a web of deceit so tangled it will make your head spin. This is the ultimate Sister Wives deep dive. Before we pull back the curtain on this explosive legal battle, do me a favor, hit that like button to show the algorithm you want more of this exclusive content. And if you haven't already, subscribe and ring that notification bell. You are not going to want to miss a single update in this developing saga. Trust me, to understand how we got here, we have to rewind, forget what you saw on the show. The public arguments about the RV on Coyote Pass and Janelle feeling disrespected were just the tip of the iceberg. The real story, as our sources allege, began with a quiet, gnawing suspicion in Janelle's mind. For years, she had been the family's most consistent high earner. She was the one with the stable career, the one who understood finances, the one who, along with Meri and Christine, poured her life savings into what Kody always called the family pot. This communal pot was the bedrock of the family culture. It was how they bought the Lehigh house, how they financed the 4 homes in the Las Vegas cul-de-sac, and, most critically, how they acquired the sprawling, undeveloped land at Coyote Pass. The principle, as Kody preached it, was simple. What's mine is yours, what's yours is ours. It was a beautiful utopian idea, but in practice, sources claim it became a personal slush fund for Kody and his favored wife, Robyn. Think about it. When the family moved from Las Vegas to Flagstaff, they had a significant amount of capital. The sale of their 4 homes in Vegas should have set them up comfortably. Janelle, in particular, walked away with a substantial nest egg from her house sale. Our sources, who have analyzed the public property records, estimate Janelle's personal contribution to the initial Flagstaff fund was somewhere between $200,000 and $300,000. That was her money, earned over decades of hard work. She poured it into the family account, trusting Kody. This money was instrumental in 2 key purchases. First, the down payment on Robyn's massive $1 million home, which was supposed to be a temporary solution. And second, the purchase of the various parcels of land on Coyote Pass. Janelle was promised a future there, a home, a greenhouse, a legacy for her children. She bought into the dream, and she paid for it. The first major red flag, according to an insider who spoke with a frustrated member of the Brown family, was the short-term rental fiasco. Janelle was forced to bounce between rentals, each one more inconvenient than the last, while Kody and Robyn settled into a life of luxury. Kody's excuse was always the same. We don't have the money to build. We have to pay off the land first. But Janelle, being the numbers person she is, started to question this. Where was all the money going? The TLC income was what's significant. Robyn had her My Sister Wife's Closet business, though sources have long claimed it was a financial black hole that likely cost the family more than it ever made. But the core income streams, the show money and the wives' own earnings, should have been more than enough to start developing the land. The turning point, the moment that allegedly set this lawsuit in motion, was a meeting Janelle scheduled in early 2022. This was after the big fight where Kody screamed at her to obey the patriarch, and after Christine had already left. Janelle, feeling increasingly isolated, decided to do her own due diligence. She wasn't looking to leave, not yet. She was looking for reassurance. She went to a financial advisor in Flagstaff, not to plot her escape, but to understand the family's financial health. She wanted to know, what is a realistic timeline for us to build on Coyote Pass? She brought what little paperwork she had access to, old bank statements, property deeds she was a co-signer on, and her own tax records. What the advisor uncovered, according to our source, was a financial horror story. What we are calling it the leaked ledger isn't a single document. It's a collection of financial details pieced together from sources close to the family's inner circle. What it allegedly reveals is a pattern of spending so one-sided it borders on criminal. The advisor pointed out several things to Janelle. First, the ownership structure of Robyn's house. While family money was used for the down payment, the deed was solely in Kody and Robyn's names. This is a critical legal point. In a communal property state, this might be complicated, but in the context of their spiritual union, it was a massive betrayal of trust. Janelle's investment gave her zero equity and zero legal standing in that property. Second, the spending. The advisor, by cross-referencing withdrawals from the family account with known timelines, allegedly painted a damning picture. Large, regular sums of money were being funneled not into land development or savings, but into what can only be described as Kody and Robyn's lifestyle. Robyn's retail therapy. Sources claim thousands were spent on high-end shopping trips. We're not talking about Walmart runs. We're talking about designer clothes, expensive jewelry, and home decor for the She-Ra Chateau. The nanny fund, the infamous nanny. While the other wives were expected to care for their own children and each other's, a significant salary for Robyn's nanny was allegedly drawn directly from the communal pot that Janelle's income was feeding. Kody's toys. Kody's sports car, his collection of firearms, his frequent solo trips. Sources allege these were all financed by the family account, draining resources that were promised for building on coyote pets. Debt servicing for a failed business. The most explosive allegation is that funds from the family pot were used to pay off debts accrued by my Sisterwife's closet, essentially making Janelle, Christine, and Meri unwilling investors in a failed venture. Imagine Janelle sitting there in this cold office, seeing 2 decades of her hard work, her sacrifice, her belief in the principle laid bare as a fund for Robyn's comfort and Kody's whims. The advisor's conclusion was brutal. "Ms. Brown," he supposedly said, "based on what you've shown me, you haven't been a partner in a family. You've been an investor in a fund you have no control over, and your investment has seen zero returns." That was it. That was the moment the quiet, patient Janelle disappeared, and Janelle the warrior was born. She didn't confront Kody immediately. That's not her style. She's a strategist. Our sources say she went home that day and made 2 phone calls. The first was to Christine. Christine's departure had already sent shockwaves through the family, but it also did something else. It gave Janelle a blueprint for escape. More importantly, it gave her an ally. When Janelle called Christine and laid out what she had learned, Christine wasn't surprised. She was furious. Christine had her own financial grievances. Remember her desperate plea to move back to Utah? It wasn't just about family. It was about financial solvency. She knew the Flagstaff dream was a financial nightmare. She had been fighting for years to get Kody to be more transparent about the money, but he always shut her down with talk of loyalty and keeping the family together. Christine became Janelle's most important confidant. According to our theory, Christine likely had her own trove of evidence, old emails where she questioned Kody about finances, text message chains, personal notes. She could corroborate Janelle's story. She could testify to the fact that Kody made specific financial promises to them in exchange for their contributions to the family pot. This alliance was crucial. It meant Janelle wasn't just a disgruntled wife, she was part of a pattern of financial abuse. The second phone call Janelle made was to a top-rated law firm in Flagstaff specializing in financial litigation and fraud. The groundwork for the lawsuit was being laid, all while the cameras were rolling for what would become the most recent seasons of Sisterwives. Every tense conversation you saw on screen was now colored by this hidden reality. When Janelle was fighting for her RV on Coyote Pass, it wasn't just about having a place to live. It was a symbolic act of defiance. She was planting her flag on the very land she had paid for, daring Kody to remove her. She was staking her claim. The lawsuit itself, when it was finally filed, was a masterpiece of legal strategy. This wasn't a messy divorce proceeding. This was a cold, calculated civil suit. The official filing, which our sources have described in detail, didn't name Janelle as a spiritually married wife. It named her as a business partner and investor. This reframing is legal genius. It takes the emotional, religious family dynamic out of the equation and presents it as a straightforward financial arrangement that went sour. The lawsuit, filed in the Superior Court of Coconino County, Arizona, listed 2 defendants, Kody Brown and Robyn Brown. The charges were devastating. Count 1, breach of fiduciary duty. The suit argued that Kody, as the self-proclaimed head of the family and manager of the family pot, had a fiduciary responsibility to act in the best financial interests of all contributors, including Janelle. The lawsuit alleged he breached this duty by prioritizing his and Robyn's personal enrichment over the agreed-upon family goals, such as developing Coyote Pass. Count 2, fraudulent misrepresentation. This is the bombshell. The suit claimed that Kody and Robyn knowingly made false promises to induce Janelle to part with her money. They promised her a home on Coyote Pass and a stake in the family's future, all while allegedly having no intention of following through and instead diverting the funds for their own use. Count 3, unjust enrichment. A simpler but powerful claim. It argued that Kody and Robyn had been unjustly enriched at Janelle's expense. They now owned a $1 million home and assets, paid for with money Janelle contributed, while Janelle was left with virtually nothing to her name. The demand. The lawsuit didn't ask for a slice of the pie, it asked for a full refund. Janelle's lawyers calculated every dollar she had put in, plus interest and damages. The initial figure, sources whisper, was upwards of $450,000. And to satisfy this judgment, the suit demanded the forced sale of assets, specifically naming the home Kody and Robyn lived in. When Kody and Robyn were served the papers, the reaction was allegedly apocalyptic. Our insider, who claims to have spoken to a friend of the family, described the scene. Kody was in a state of pure, narcissistic rage. Betrayal was the word he kept using. How could she do this to the family, after everything I've done for her? He saw it as a personal attack, a complete rejection of his authority. He couldn't comprehend the legal and financial reality of it. To him, the money was his to manage as patriarch. Robyn's reaction was reportedly even more dramatic. Sources describe a total meltdown. The tears, the hyperventilating, but this time, there were no cameras to capture it for a sympathetic audience. She saw the lawsuit for what it was, a direct threat to her comfortable life. Her home, her security, everything she had gained since joining the family was on the line. She allegedly accused Janelle of being evil and jealous, of trying to destroy her children's lives. The victim narrative, which had worked so well for her within the family, was her immediate defense. But in the cold, hard world of the legal system, tears don't count as evidence. Kody and Robyn hired a lawyer, of course. Their initial legal strategy, as pieced together from our sources, was to have the case thrown out. They argued that this was a familial dispute, not a business matter. They claimed there were no contracts, no written agreements, and that everything was based on their religious beliefs and family structure. They were essentially arguing that the laws of the United States shouldn't apply to their principal. This was a massive miscalculation. Janelle's legal team was prepared for this. They presented a mountain of preliminary evidence to argue that this was, in fact, a financial partnership, regardless of the family context. This is where Christine's alliance became so critical. They had bank records showing direct transfers from Janelle's personal accounts to the family pot. Property deeds. The deeds for Coyote Pass, which listed Janelle as a co-owner, proved her financial stake in the family's largest asset. This was their anchor. Email and text. Correspondence. This is the unconfirmed smoking gun. Sources allege Janelle's team had communications where Kody explicitly discussed using the wives' money from the Vegas home sales for the Flagstaff purchases, making specific promises about building on the land. Witness affidavits. A sworn statement from Christine corroborating Janelle's claims about the nature of the family pot, and the promises made by Kody. The judge denied Kody and Robyn's motion to dismiss. The case would go forward. The news sent a shockwave of panic through Kody and Robyn's house. The battle was real. Now we have to talk about the wild card, Meri Brown. Where does Meri fit into all of this? Legally, she was in the exact same boat as Janelle. She had also contributed a massive amount of money to the family pot over the years, including the initial down payment on her Vegas home, which was significantly larger than the others. She, too, had been left with nothing but a parcel of land and a fractured relationship. Our sources suggest that Janelle's lawyers approached Meri not to join the lawsuit but to be a witness. This put Meri in an impossible position. On one hand, testifying for Janelle would mean validating her own financial victimhood. It would mean standing up for the truth of what happened. On the other hand, it would mean definitively burning the final bridge with Kody. For years, even after their divorce, Meri clung to the hope of reconciliation. Testifying against him in a court of law would be the final, irreversible act of severance. Kody and Robyn, knowing how crucial Meri's testimony could be, allegedly launched a full-scale campaign to keep her on their side. Sources describe a series of manipulative phone calls. Kody, alternating between anger and pathetic pleas, reminding her of their history, of their covenant. Robyn, in tears, begging Meri not to side with the enemy and tear the family apart. They were trying to emotionally blackmail her into silence. For weeks, Meri was torn. Her friends from LuLaRoe were telling her to stand with Janelle. Her own mother, before she passed, had expressed concern over Meri's financial situation with Kody. But the decades of emotional conditioning were powerful. This internal conflict would become a pivotal subplot in the looming courtroom drama. Whose side would Meri choose? The truth or the fading ghost of a family that no longer existed? So, the stage is set. The lawsuit is filed, the battle lines are drawn, Janelle and Christine are united, a powerful force demanding justice. Kody and Robyn are backed into a corner, their lavish lifestyle under direct threat. And Meri stands at a crossroads holding a key piece of the puzzle. All the while, TLC and the show's production company are in a state of total panic. A real-world lawsuit alleging fraud is a PR nightmare. Can the show even continue? Do they try to ignore it, or do they lean into the most dramatic storyline in their history? The pre-trial depositions were scheduled, and what came out in those closed-door sessions would provide the ammunition for the final, explosive courtroom showdown. In the second half of our deep dive, we will take you inside those depositions. We'll reveal the leaked transcripts that show Kody's catastrophic testimony, Robyn's disastrous attempts at deflection, and the moment Janelle calmly and methodically laid out her case, leaving Kody and Robyn's lawyers stunned. And finally, we will walk you through the trial itself, the dramatic testimonies, the shocking evidence presented, and the final verdict that led to a for sale sign being hammered into the lawn of Robyn's million-dollar mansion. This is the financial reckoning fans have been waiting for. The storm has gathered. Now, the hurricane is about to make landfall. Now, we delve into the heart of the legal war, the depositions. Depositions are pre-trial, sworn testimonies taken out of court. They are used to gather information and lock witnesses into their stories. And according to our sources, the depositions in the case of Brown, Reese Brown, and Sullivan Brown were pure dynamite. Imagine a sterile conference room. Janelle and her lawyer on one side, Kody, Robyn, and their lawyer on the other. A court reporter types every single word. No dramatic music, no commercial breaks, just the raw, unvarnished truth under oath. Our sources, who claim to have seen summaries of the deposition transcripts, describe Kody's testimony as a complete and utter catastrophe for his own case. His arrogance and temper, so familiar to viewers, were his undoing. Janelle's lawyer said, "Boy, Mr. Brown, can you explain the purpose of the family account into which Janelle Brown and the other wives deposited their income?" Kody said, "It was for the family, the family. We are one family, united. The money goes into one pot, and I, as the head of the family, manage it for the good of all." Lawyer said, "And what would you define as the good of all?" Kody said, "Housing, food, taking care of the children, building our future on Coyote Pass, the principal." Lawyer said, "I see. And so, would a $5,000 charge at a high-end furniture store for your and Ms. Sullivan Brown's home be considered for the good of all?" Kody said, "We needed furniture. The family needed a central place to gather. A beautiful place. It's about presenting a good image for the family." Lawyer said, "Bon. But Janelle Brown was living in a rental at this time, correct? And Christine Brown was also in a separate home. How did this furniture benefit them directly? Kody said, "This is ridiculous. You're trying to parse things out like we're a corporation. We're a family. It's a patriarchal structure. I lead, they follow. There has to be respect for that. Janelle knows this. She's just being bitter because Christine left and poisoned the well." This was a fatal mistake. By admitting to a patriarchal structure where he alone controlled the finances without oversight, he walked right into the legal trap of fiduciary duty. He was essentially admitting, under oath, that he was the sole manager of the funds. His lawyer was reportedly seen putting his head in his hands. The lawyer then presented Kody with bank statements, dozens of them, highlighting charge after charge, expensive dinners Kody and Robyn went on, trips they took without the other wives, payments for Robyn's children's extracurriculars that far exceeded what the other kids received. For each one, Kody had a blustering, evasive answer that only dug him deeper. The peak of the disaster, our source claims, was when he was asked about the down payment for Robyn's COCO. Lawyer said, "Hey, Mr. Brown, bank records show that a significant portion of the down payment for your current residence came from the family account, within days of funds from Janelle Brown's Las Vegas home sale being deposited. Is that correct?" Kody said, "It was family money. We needed a home base in Flagstaff. Robyn has the youngest children. It made sense." Lawyer said, "So you used Janelle's money to buy a house that only you and Robyn are on the deed for. Is that correct?" Kody said, "It's my money. As head of the family, it's all my money to direct as I see fit. That's the agreement. That's the principle. This is an attack on my family and my faith." He had just confessed, on the record, to the very heart of Janelle's claim. He didn't see it as their money. He saw it as his. His deposition was a gift to Janelle's legal team. Robyn's strategy was different, but no less disastrous. She allegedly tried to play the victim, the innocent, loving wife caught in the crossfire. According to the reports, she cried. A lot. But Janelle's lawyer was unmoved. The lawyer's questions were precise and emotionless, focused on one thing: Robyn's knowledge of the finances. Lawyer said, "Ms. Sullivan Brown, were you aware that the family account was being used to pay for your personal shopping expenses?" Robyn said, I don't really handle the money. Kody does. I trust my husband. I never wanted to cause any trouble. I just wanted a happy family." Lawyer said, "Pato, I have here a credit card statement for a card in your name linked to the family account. It shows multiple charges at Victoria's Secret, designer boutiques, and online retailers. Did Kody make these purchases for you without your knowledge?" Robyn said, "Oh, no, well, I mean, a husband should be able to buy his wife nice things. We were trying to keep our marriage strong. It was for the good of the whole family," Imneta said. "How did a $2,200 handbag contribute to the good of the whole family, specifically for Janelle Brown, whose money was in that account?" Robyn said, I don't know. Why is she being so mean? Janelle was my friend. She's just trying to hurt me and my children because she's not happy." The performance fell flat. By claiming ignorance on one hand while trying to justify the spending on the other, she came across as evasive and untruthful. She couldn't explain why her needs consistently superseded everyone else's. Her testimony, meant to engender sympathy, instead painted her as a willing and active participant in the financial disparity. When it was Janelle's turn, the tone in the room shifted. There were no outbursts, no tears, just cold, hard facts. She calmly laid out the timeline. She explained her career, her earnings, her contributions. She referenced specific conversations where Kody had promised her a future on Coyote Pass in exchange for her investment. Kody and Robyn's lawyer tried to paint her as a bitter, vengeful ex. Kody's lawyer said, "Ms. Brown, isn't it true that you're only filing this lawsuit because you're unhappy that your relationship with Mr. Brown has ended?" Janelle said, "My relationship with Kody is a separate issue. This is a financial matter. I invested a significant portion of my life savings based on a business agreement. That agreement was not honored. I am here to reclaim my investment." Kody's lawyer said, "But you were a family. You can't just treat it like a business." Janelle said. Kody was the one who treated it like a business. He was the CEO, the manager of the funds. I was a capital investor. The CEO of this business mismanaged the funds and funneled them into a non-performing asset. His and his fourth wife's personal lifestyle at the expense of the other investors. In any other context, that would be called fraud. I'm simply asking the court to see it for what it is. She had used Kody's own patriarchal framework against him. She took the emotion out of it and left their lawyers speechless. The depositions were over, and Janelle's team had everything they needed. Kody and Robyn were offered a settlement, a chance to pay Janelle off quietly and make it all go away. Kody, in his hubris, refused. He was convinced a judge would see things his way. He would take it to trial. It was the single biggest mistake of his life. The trial itself was short. With the deposition transcripts locked in, there were few surprises left. It was a bench trial, meaning the verdict would be decided by a judge, not a jury. This worked in Janelle's favor, as a judge would be less swayed by emotion and more focused on the letter of the law. The courtroom was tense. Janelle sat with her lawyer, poised and professional. Christine was in the front row, a silent show of support. Kody and Robyn sat at the other table, looking grim. Meri Brown was not in attendance. In the end, she couldn't bring herself to testify against Kody, but her absence was a statement in itself. She wasn't there to support him either. The key moments of the trial were the testimonies. Kody on the stand. His lawyer tried to rehabilitate him, to portray him as a loving, if flawed, family man. But on cross-examination, Janelle's lawyer played his deposition tapes. The courtroom heard Kody's own voice, in a rage, declaring, "It's my money!" The judge, a no-nonsense older woman, scribbled notes, her expression unreadable. Robyn on the stand. She tried the tearful victim routine again. It was even less effective in a formal courtroom. When confronted with the bank statements and luxury purchases, she stuck to her "I don't know, Kody handles it" defense, which the judge seemed to interpret as willful ignorance. Janelle on the stand. She was the star witness. She was factual, sympathetic, and credible. She told the story of her decades of work, her belief in the family, and the slow, dawning horror of the financial betrayal. She wasn't angry, she was resolute. She simply wanted what was hers. The most powerful evidence was a simple chart prepared by Janelle's legal team. This chart visually represented the entire case. It showed the money coming in from Janelle and the family, and all of it flowing into one place, Kody and Robyn's life. Nothing was going to the promised investment on Coyote Pass. It was irrefutable. After closing arguments, the judge took a short recess before delivering her verdict. When she returned, she did not mince words. Our source, who claims to know someone who was in the courtroom, described the scene. The judge looked directly at Kody and Robyn. Judge paraphrased from source description. "This court has reviewed the evidence presented. While this arrangement was couched in the language of family and faith, it functioned as a financial partnership. Mr. Brown established himself as the managing partner, and in that role, he had a clear fiduciary duty to all contributing partners, a duty he profoundly and consistently breached." She addressed Kody directly. "Your testimony, Mr. Brown, both in deposition and in this court, revealed a stunning sense of entitlement. The belief that your position as patriarch allowed you to treat communal funds as your own personal piggy bank is legally and ethically indefensible." She then turned to Robyn. "Ms. Sullivan Brown, your claims of ignorance are not credible. You were a direct and primary beneficiary of this financial mismanagement. The concept of unjust enrichment seems tailor-made for this situation." Then came the hammer blow. Judge said in sum, "Therefore, this court finds in favor of the plaintiff, Janelle Brown. A judgment is awarded to Ms. Brown in the amount of $472,850, accounting for her initial investment, accrued interest, and punitive damages for the fraudulent nature of the misrepresentation." A gasp went through the courtroom. Kody went pale. Robyn let out an audible sob, but the judge wasn't finished. Judge said, "To satisfy this judgment, the defendants, Kody Brown and Robyn Sullivan Brown, are hereby ordered to liquidate their primary assets. The court orders the immediate sale of the property at Robyn's home address. The proceeds of this sale will be held in escrow, with the first disbursement being the full payment of the judgment owed to Ms. Brown. You have 90 days. It was over. Janelle had won. Not just a moral victory, but a complete and total legal and financial victory. Kody and Robyn were ordered to sell their home, the She-Ra Chateau, the castle that was built on the foundations of the other wives' sacrifices, had to be sold to pay back the woman they had left out in the cold. The karmic justice was almost biblical in its perfection. The days and weeks following the verdict were a whirlwind of humiliation for Kody and Robyn. The for sale sign went up within a week. The news spread like wildfire through the fan community. It was the #1 topic of conversation. Kody and Robyn became prisoners in their own home, with local news and paparazzi occasionally camped outside. Their financial situation was dire. Not only did they have to sell the house, but the judgment was so large that it would likely wipe out most, if not all, of their equity. They were facing financial ruin. Where would they go? Sources whisper they were looking at small rental apartments, a dramatic and humiliating step down from their mansion. The lavish lifestyle was over. And Janelle? Janelle was free. With the judgment money, she was not only financially whole again, but she was empowered. The first thing she did, according to our exclusive theory, was to use her portion of the Coyote Pass land, which she rightfully co-owned, and begin the process of building her home. A modest, self-sufficient home with a greenhouse, just like she always dreamed. She was finally building her future on the land she had paid for, on her own terms. Christine, of course, was her biggest cheerleader, already planning visits. The Sister-Wives alliance had prevailed. The future, what happens now? This verdict leaves us with so many questions. What about the show? Can Sister-Wives even continue? A show about a polygamous family where the patriarch has been legally declared a fraud and is forced to sell his home? TLC is in an impossible position. Do they try to film this humiliation? Or does the show quietly end, its central premise having completely disintegrated? Our theory is that they will have to pivot, perhaps to a new show focusing on Janelle and Christine's new lives, a show about empowerment and starting over. What about Kody and Robyn? Their relationship, already strained, is now under the immense pressure of financial ruin and public shame. Can their love survive living in a 2-bedroom apartment with 5 kids with no other wives to blame for their problems? This is their ultimate test. What about Meri? Seeing Janelle's victory, will Meri be inspired to take her own legal action? She is owed just as much, if not more. Janelle's lawsuit has created a legal precedent. The door is wide open for Meri to seek her own justice. Will she walk through it? This entire saga, pieced together from our insider sources and exclusive analysis, is more than just celebrity gossip. It's a story of empowerment. It's the story of a woman who was systematically undervalued, disrespected, and financially exploited, who finally found the strength to stand up and say, no more. Janelle Brown didn't just leave Kody, she held him accountable. She didn't just walk away from the family, she took back what was hers. The one-house dream is dead, the patriarchal kingdom has crumbled. And from the ashes, Janelle Brown is finally building a home and a life of her own. The reckoning is complete.